Do you have an itchy cat? Maybe they're over grooming. Maybe they're on even medications like steroids, cyclosporin, immunosuppressives, and you're wondering why. Why are they itchy? Have you figured out why your cat is itching, or are you just treating a symptom and we're missing the root cause? So that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about all things cats, and we're talking about itchiness, and we're going to talk about those root imbalances that can lead to the symptom of itchiness so you can actually treat the problem and get rid of the symptoms for good. Now, if you're excited, give me a thumbs up. If you have an itchy cat, you're in the right place. For everyone new here, welcome. For everyone returning, welcome back. I'm Dr. Katie Woodley, holistic veterinarian and founder of The Natural Pet Doctor, who's on a mission to make sure you, as the amazing pet parent, feel empowered, supported, and confident that you are on the right path to healing the root cause of your pet's health issues. I'm super committed to those kitty cats too, because who here feels like cats are underrepresented? They don't get enough information. You guys are kind of left trying to figure it out on your own. So I'm also going to make sure we're going to serve these kitty cats because I've got 3 beautiful soul kitties in my life and they deserve the information also. So let's dive into today and talk about some of the reasons, symptoms, what you can do, diagnostic tools to figure out why your cat might be itching. Because here's the thing, your cat is not steroid deficient, right? Yes, we can use drugs, we can use conventional medications to help them provide good quality of life. But if we don't take this step back and start asking better questions of why is my cat itching? Why are these symptoms here? And if we're only using a drug to cover those up, we're going to create issues down the road. And there are alternatives to things like steroids. And also, too, sometimes I recognize these drugs might need to be used. However, we want to make sure we have exhausted other options or we're integrating in natural remedies, holistic remedies, food therapy, fresh food options for these cats because we can reduce the amount of drugs if your cat has to be on a drug to reduce the risk of side effects and things like diabetes. Cats on steroids usually end up diabetic down the road. Very common, and we want to avoid that. We don't want to create other problems, but we have to think differently when we're thinking about root causes of diseases. Every single symptom that you're seeing, whether it's an ear infection, whether it's a hot spot, whether it's over grooming and licking the fur off of their belly, is a symptom. And there's always an underlying reason. I call it the root cause or an imbalance that we have to figure out what's going on and fix it or help heal it. So we're rebalancing the body to get it back to optimal health. So some of the symptoms that you might notice that are going to be common ones, right? Where we see them scratching a lot. They might be itching at their head, their ears. They might be getting recurring ear infections. Some of the other common symptoms that can be a sign of like an itchy cat too are they're over grooming their bellies. They might be chewing the fur off of their legs right at the tail base. Those can all be symptoms of an underlying problem that we're going to talk about. Now, some of the main causes you need to be aware of, and these are things that I want you to ask your veterinarian about. This is where, I am a vet, I totally get it, but I've also come from a place where autoimmune disease changed the trajectory of my entire career, and it opened me up to this entire world of asking better questions, asking why do these things happen? And this is where you can go to your vet and have an open conversation and just ask, why do you think they're itching? Why do they need to be on a steroid? Are there other things that we can test for or that we can use to help support the immune system, support gut health that we're going to be talking about, support reducing inflammation naturally that come with less severe side effects? Your veterinarian may not be able to answer that because unfortunately, a lot of those things we're not trained in when we go to vet school. That's where typically having a team of doctors or utilizing a holistic veterinarian or an integrative vet can help you tremendously because Now you're tapping into the conventional side. You have that covered for acute care, blood work. And then we have the second opinion. We have the opinion of the holistic vet, the integrative vet, to give you more feedback on the natural remedies that you can use. And the beauty of it is I have both conventional and holistic knowledge, which every single integrative holistic veterinarian has gone through conventional veterinary school to get their veterinary license. So we're able to look at it from both views and figure out why this body is off. Why is this cat itching and scratching, creating sores, getting recurring ear infections, over grooming their bellies? What is going on in the environment? Now, when we look at some of the main causes of why your cat could be itchy, we have to first look at the food. What is the nutrition that we're feeding our cats? Are we feeding a species appropriate diet, or are we feeding a species inappropriate diet? So we have to look at what is the physiology of a cat. They are obligate carnivores. That what that means is they have zero requirements for carbohydrates. Now, unfortunately, the vet industry, what we were taught in vet school, the marketing side of things from the pet food companies has created essentially this kind of like firestorm, especially for cats, where they become kibble addicted. They go onto these high carbohydrate diets. And what happens is we're creating insulin resistance, which creates more inflammation, predisposes our cats to obesity, things like diabetes, because the amount of inflammation. And also, too, it can create inflammation in the skin because there's all these different types of axes, these connections in the body. And the food, whether or not like the itchiness changes when you change the diet, we still need to look at the food and see, is there room for improvement that we can take? Because a lot of these cats, especially if they're scratching around their head, they're getting sores, we're getting recurring ear infections. It can be a food sensitivity because we're creating a microbiome gut health issue. We're creating this imbalance in the gut because we're feeding the wrong type of bacteria. Also, a lot of these foods, these high carbohydrates, the chemicals that are in these diets too, the way that they're processed at high heat temperatures can also create what we call leaky gut, where that gut lining that should be nice and tight, no spaces, starts getting inflamed, and we start getting the separation where food, bacteria, and toxins pass through into the bloodstream. They overstimulate the immune system. Our T helper cells, specific cells of that immune system, overreact. They create more inflammatory mediators. And now it circulates and it affects the skin and it creates inflammation in the skin. And that's where you see the scratching and the itching. So if we're only looking at treating the symptom of the itchiness with our cats, and we haven't thought about the gut health problem or looked at the food, that's where you get stuck in that vicious cycle of going back and forth to the vet clinic, which also creates a lot of stress for cats, right? Who here hates going to the vet clinic with your cat? It is not a fun experience. It's usually really stressful for them. And cats are really prone to stress, which we're going to talk about because that can be another factor for creating this vicious cycle of why your cat is continuing to itch and scratch and have an issue. So we need to look at the foods. Now, a lot of food sensitivities that cats experience are going to be common proteins in the food: beef, chicken, and fish. So this is where it's important to look at those pet food labels, but also to understand that the foods that we're feeding that are coming from big pet food companies, the way that they're produced, there can actually be other proteins in that food that aren't on the label because of the rendering process. Not going to go into rendering today, but it's really important. It's a topic we cover in our Blueprint program because a lot of pet parents and even veterinarians, and myself included years ago, had no idea what rendering meant. And once you realize how pet food's made, the sourcing, the transparency or lack thereof with a lot of these companies, your eyes are opened up to like, that makes so much sense why these cats have all this inflammation in their body and it's manifesting as what we call like an autoimmune disease. Now, the conventional solution when your veterinarian is worried about itchiness being due to food sensitivities are those prescription diets. Now, those prescription diets don't work very well. You might see what they are usually a hydrolyzed protein. So that protein is broken down supposedly to a particle size that your cat can't have an immune reaction to. However, they still can. And a lot of times, these cats are still put on prescription diets that are kibble. Those kibble diets are warming energetically. So, if you think about your itchy cat, they're scratching, there's lots of heat associated with it, lots of inflammation. Heat comes with inflammation. And we're essentially putting gasoline on that fire and keeping them warm, hot, more itchy. So, those diets science wise, don't have a lot of good results associated with them. Also, these diets have shown, especially on the dog side, the poor cats don't get enough studies done with them, which is why this information is so important for cats and for yourself, is that these prescription diets also change the microbiome. They create a dysbiosis where we have the bad bacteria outnumbering the good bacteria. So we need to be looking at, okay, well, what's a better food to feed our cats? So when we think about species appropriate, less carbohydrates, higher protein, and fresher, less processed. So what can that look like? Canned will always be better than your dry food diets. Your freeze dried, your raw, your lightly cooked. So if we can transition those cats over to some of these other diets, we have some brands that we recommend in our free guide. We have a simple guide to to improving your pet's food. So you can go to the link in our bio and download that. You can also go to thenaturalpetdoctor.com and download that free guide. So that way you can get some options on how do I transition my cats and support them and help them. Now, the other thing too to be aware of if you live in warmer, more humid climates is fleas can be a problem. So we need to make sure we're ruling out fleas. Now, if you have a flea issue, it's hard to manage. It is frustrating. It is a battle. Fleas, I feel like, can survive a nuclear war. So if you have a flea problem, you don't necessarily need to use the topicals or like Bravecto. I don't recommend those because there's a lot of toxicity associated with it, severe side effects, including death, especially with the Bravecto and the isosazolazine family. It is not worth it because I've seen one dose cause death in too many animals. And all you have to do is look up the adverse reactions that have been logged and think about that's probably only about like 1% of the reactions that are being logged. And it's a scary situation. There are numerous natural remedies that you can use for flea and tick prevention. They are repellents, so they don't kill. So you have to layer them. A lot of times you have to figure out what works best for your cat, for your specific situation, but improving their immune health, improving gut health, improving nutrition will also help them. That is the key. That is the foundation. If you have a poorly cat who has not very good health, they are more prone to parasites like fleas, intestinal parasites, and other illnesses. So we need to do all we can to boost that immune system. We don't want to add additional chemicals. So we want to use a lot of these products that are going to be things like your Wondercide, your Kin and Kind products. There's ways to use essential oils on cats safely. I said it. I know it's controversial, but you can. And you can also use other products like diatomaceous earth around the environment. You can use nematodes. We have an entire free YouTube video on natural remedies for fleas and ticks. We can do it. You just have to be consistent if you live in a warm, humid climate, but that can create itchiness for your cat. We have to rule it out. We have to be aware of that. Now, stress is another factor. Who here has a cat that is kind of emotional, right? They are going to respond to if you move the furniture, if you change the house or you move. Like if you're stressed out or you're feeling overwhelmed, your cats are very emotional, energetic beings. They are beautiful in that way. And we need to be aware of how the environment and our own stress can impact our cats and their emotional health and their well-being. Because we know because of the gut-brain axis, stress can directly cause that impaired gut lining, that permeability issue, that leaky gut that then can create more inflammation. And there's a gut-brain skin axis. And when that gut health is off, it will directly cause inflammation in the skin because of how everything is beautifully interconnected. So we need to be aware of what the stress is and how we're supporting them in their environment. And we can use certain natural remedies to calm down that stress response and help them. The other thing too I wanted to touch on briefly with like itchiness, we're going to have a YouTube video coming out soon, so make sure you're liked and subscribed to our channel, Dr. Katie Woodley, the natural pet doctor, for so you can receive notification when we drop that video. But ear problems, ear mites can be a problem for a lot of cats that are rescued, that are adopted, that come in, they're poorly, right? These are these poor little kittens that come in, they've had such a hard life, they're found and rescued off the streets, and they're scratching intensely at their ears. So we want to make sure we're ruling out those parasite aspect and we're not missing that. The other piece too is the toxins. This goes along with the environmental health. So if we're looking at what chemicals are we using in the household, we talk about a lot of the 5 pillars of health. So your physical health, your gut health, nutrition, your immune health, your emotional health, your environmental health. If we look at those 5 buckets of health, those are your pillars, those are your foundation, and you can start assessing your situation from those 5 pillars and asking why. Is this a part of why my cat is itching? Have we optimized this area of health? Are we supporting those detox pathways? 90% of histamine is processed through the liver. And if your cat's detox pathways are not open, they're going to have a very hard time processing that. And it's going to build up in their system and it's going to block those detox pathways and it's going to manifest as increased itchiness. So we need to be supporting all of these buckets, all of these pillars of health in order to heal the symptom of the itchiness. So look at the food, assess the food. If we're feeding a dry kibble or we're feeding a food that has a lot of potential like artificial ingredients, it's highly processed, and we're looking at like, okay, my cat's itchy, we're feeding chicken. Chicken is a very warming protein energetically. What can we switch them to? We can do elimination diets where we're not using prescription foods, where we're using foods, say, that are essentially like a rabbit diet. Viva Raw is an awesome company. That's a great elimination diet trial for your cats where you can put them on that for like 10 to 12 weeks. See how they do. Make sure you're assessing treats, supplements, other things that are going into their mouth, any like products that you're using for preventatives that might have a beef flavoring or a chicken flavoring. So that way we make sure we're not messing up that food elimination diet trial. But looking at, okay, rabbit's great. It's cooling energetically. It can bring down some of that inflammation. We can reduce the potential that this is like a food sensitivity, lower the antigenic potential that this is stimulating and causing that immune system to overreact. So starting with food. We can also look at, okay, if we're giving conventional medications, what are some natural remedies that we can use that aren't going to interact, that are safe to use, but are going to calm down inflammation, that are going to support the microbiome and gut health, and also going to also lower stress, because we have these big areas, right, where we need to support the detox pathways also. And a lot of these natural herbs, Chinese herbal formulas, supplements that you can get are going to help modulate all of that. So your omega-3 essential fatty acids are a great one. Now, if you have a cat that you're worried they're sensitive to things like your white fish, your salmon, you can always use an algae oil. So you're eliminating that protein and making sure that it's not going to contribute if there is a food sensitivity. But omega-3 essential fatty acids are great at building up the skin barrier. If we're worried about an environmental allergy, that's another area. If they're sensitive to pollens, grasses, dust mites, those could all be potential triggers making your cat itchy. So let's make sure that we're supporting their system to build up the skin barrier. They're also great at reducing inflammation naturally. Great easy substitute, just using algae oil, just, using brands like Adored Beast. There's a lot of great brands out there. So that way, making sure that we're supporting those systems. Other great natural remedies are going to be things that are like astragalus. Astragalus is a great herb that is going to help manage the adrenals when we have stress. When we're stressed, when our cats are stressed, they go into a sympathetic dominant state. That is that fight or flight response, and we want to lower that. So we can use a class of herbs called adaptogens. So this is where they're going to help calm down stress. They're going to lower cortisol naturally, but also too, when our cats need to have that cortisol raised for whatever reason, those adaptogen herbs are going to work either way, which is fantastic. So astragalus is a good one. Looking at burdock root. Burdock root is a great gentle detox, working on those detox pathways, helping to eliminate, those inflammatory mediators, the toxins that your cat might be ingesting or coming into contact with that they're naturally producing through normal detox pathways, helping with that histamine metabolism in the liver. So burdock root is a great one to use. Nettles is a great natural antihistamine. So when we think about histamine, right? Histamine's important. We need it, but we don't want too much of it. When we think about for ourselves, when you have hay fever, when we go outside and you're sensitive to all the pollens or the flowers that are budding right now in the springtime, we get a lot of histamine being produced. We get runny eyes, we get itchy, you start sneezing. And the same thing can happen with our cats where they start scratching more. So we can use a beautiful herb like nettles to calm down that histamine response and lower it naturally. We don't have to reach for the synthetics like Benadryl, where it's working on certain receptors. We can use the whole herb, the whole plant, because it's going to have synergistic properties and it's going to have less potential side effects associated with it long term. That's the downside with conventional drugs, is that we've taken this component of a plant usually and removed it from the other properties of that plant. And that's why we can get side effects, because it doesn't work as well in the body. It can work a lot faster, which is why people tend to go to the drugs, because it works very fast. But we need to start looking at how can we implement whole foods, whole plants to help balance out that immune system, calm down inflammation, support microbiome. The other couple herbs too that are commonly used in a lot of tinctures or herbal natural remedies that you can find from companies like Animal Essentials, which is a great one that you can use if you can access that, is going to be things like licorice. Licorice is a great adaptogen. It supports the adrenal glands. It also has steroid-like properties, but doesn't come with the side effects. So licorice is a great one to use. And once again, it's combined in a lot of these products. Animal Essentials is a great one to look at. Now, I love mushrooms, medicinal mushrooms, not the psychedelic mushrooms have their time and their place, right? There's a lot of things in the human side with those. I'm talking about medicinal mushrooms. So like things like you would eat, like your button mushrooms, the things you would cook with. And there's a couple really great species of mushrooms that you can use that are not only going to help reduce inflammation naturally, they're going to help rebalance or modulate the immune system, but they're also what are called prebiotics. Prebiotics are a food source for the microbiome. Why is that important? So a lot of these cats, they're not producing enough short chain fatty acids like butyrate, which are essential for feeding that gut lining, that have anti-inflammatory properties. And so we need to support that gut health, because a lot of times the issue is resulting from a gut health imbalance, inflammation in that gut. So we can use certain foods, certain herbs. Astragalus is another one that helps modulate that microbiome, reduces dysbiosis, so that imbalance of good versus bad bacteria. So certain mushrooms that you can use are going to be things like reishi. This is this mushroom of immortality, supporting the immune system. You can also use tremella mushroom. Tremella is really good for supporting skin health. The other one is going to be lion's mane. A lot of people think about lion's mane for cognition, which is great for those aging cats and supporting their cognition so we don't develop that cognitive decline as they age. But the other thing, I love Animal Essentials is here. Awesome. So yes, I love that. So you can email them questions if you need recommendations. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And I love that you guys are here. I love their products. So definitely check them out. But lion's mane is a great mushroom also because research shows that it's actually going to help with the gut lining, reducing inflammation and that turnover of the gut cells. Now, the gut cells, they should be turning over every 3 to 5 days. So if we have inflammation in the gut, don't worry, we can heal it. The body, the immune system has this amazing innate ability to heal it. We just have to find the triggers that are creating that chronic inflammation, that are overstimulating that immune response, and modulate that and start regulating the immune response in an appropriate manner. So those mushrooms are a great one to take a look at. Now, there's another product, and I'll finish with this product so you don't have too many to add. I want you to pick one or two things or use a product like Animal Essentials that has a combination of a lot of these adaptogenic herbs, these herbs that are going to work on those adrenal glands, that are going to reduce inflammation, reduce histamine, support the immune system. So you can use combination products. So to make it easier, cats are cats, and cats can be really hard to medicate or sneak things into their food. So if we can use combination products that don't taste awful, great, go for that. That's how I operate with my 3 beautiful kitties too. But the last one I wanted to mention is a product called Moducare, where we're using these plant sterols that are going to help modulate that imbalance in the immune system. So, a lot of times when we have allergies, we have an immune system issue, we have an imbalance with our T helper cells, Th1 versus Th2. And we have this overdrive of one of these being overbalanced, and we need to calm it down, bring it back into balance, homeostasis once again. Moducare is a great tool to use for that, very safe. And it comes in a treat form. I believe Thorne Moducare has the treat form for cats that you can use. If you can't find it, just email us. We can always send you a link for those products too to give a try for your cat. If your cat's itchy, you're worried about environmental sensitivities, food sensitivities. But to wrap it up, to summarize, because here's the thing that most people and veterinarians are missing. Why is my pet itchy? Not what can we use to treat the symptom? That is part of it, but we need to take that step back and not miss the forest for the trees. And I want you to be thinking about gut health, reducing inflammation naturally. What are the stress levels like, and how can we manage this environmental ecosystem to reduce toxins, reduce stress, support that microbiome, optimize nutrition and health by following these principles. If you need a reminder of all of the supplements and ways to do that, make sure you rewatch this because, of course, it's being recorded. And if you're not sure where to start, you're feeling overwhelmed, you're like sick and tired of going back and forth to the vet clinic, maybe you're waiting months to get into a holistic integrative veterinarian. The way that we've resolved that for our clients and our patients to provide you immediate access to a holistic veterinarian so you can start figuring out what those imbalances are, heal the root causes of your pet symptoms rather than just treating symptoms, get guidance, get help, join a positive, uplifting private community. That's a lifetime program. Is we created the Healthy Holistic Pet for Life Blueprint. So if you're ready for the next level of holistic pet care to help you, support you so you don't feel alone on this journey, and to help you start getting results today, make sure you send us an email, info@thenaturalpetdoctor.com, or you can go to our link in our bio and schedule a call with us. It's an application only program to make sure that this is the best fit for what you're looking for. But the system's broken. People are waiting too long. Pets are getting sicker and sicker, which makes it harder and harder to treat, gets more expensive, but you can take action today. You can get support today. If you have questions, send me a DM, send an email to us, or check out our free masterclass. You can go to the link in the bio. I will drop a link here for everyone watching along on YouTube or Facebook, so that way you can access that, because I want you to get the results and the support and help for your cats. We also support dogs too, but cats, there's a lack. There is a lack of holistic vet care and support out there, and we are on a mission to change that for you. Cats deserve the best. I love my 3 beautiful black cats. They light up my they light up my world. They light up my soul, and we need to do more for them. So I hope you found this helpful. We do these weekly. Next week, we're either going to take a break. I'm going to be in a different part of the world. So the time zone, it would be like 3 a.m. at this time. I don't know if anyone wants to see me at 3 a.m. But I will keep you posted when our next coffee talk with the doc will be. So make sure you have liked, subscribed, you're following us. If you're not on our weekly newsletter, jump on that so you can make sure you're getting all the latest news, support, and help for your beautiful cats. I'm Dr. Katie Woodley, the natural pet doctor. Have a beautiful weekend, everyone. Take care. And thank you so much for showing up, learning more, and wanting the best for your cats. All right. Bye.